Hello, hello, and welcome this afternoon. It is so good to see you here. Yeah, it's kind of a rainy day, but it's like under 80 degrees here. So I'm super happy about that. It's rainy, still a little muggy, but under 80 degrees. So, like, you can actually get outside, which is so nice. Okay, we are going to be talking all about high school curriculum today, all about planning 10th grade. This has been the thing that I have been doing. I have not wanted to work. I have not wanted to clean. I have not wanted to work on any of my home improvement projects that I halfway started around the house. I was hanging peel and stick wallpaper in the utility room, which the YouTube people make it look way easier than what it really is. So I started this like halfway, and then everybody, the kids, the husbands, like, when are you going to finish that? When are you going to finish that? So I finally finished it this weekend. Um, but I've totally been like consumed with homeschool planning. And this is the most I have planned in a few years. And actually, it's funny because I have bragged the past few years that I've like planned my entire homeschool year in an afternoon on a piece of notebook paper. And I did, but we were using a lot of open and go curriculum. But this year, I have decided I'm actually creating two of my 10th graders' classes using lesson plan lists, which is a technique that we teach in Put Your Homeschool Year on Autopilot. And I haven't done that in a few years. I've mostly used things that were already done. And this year I decided I'm going to make some of this stuff myself. And so I'm creating lesson plan lists and creating task cards. We also have the Teen Task Card Masterclass that'll show you exactly how to do this. And anyway, I'm just trying to give him some things that are a little more custom to him. So we're going to talk about some of the stuff that we're going to be doing today. So let's start with the easy thing. And the easy thing is math. And so right now, my 10th grader is halfway through geometry. And he's halfway through geometry because we start working on a subject. And then when we get to the end of the year, we close the book and then he picks it up the next year. And so he is a little ahead, a little behind on math. I really would be happier if he had finished geometry at the end of last year, but he didn't. And so he'll be going into 10th grade and have half a year of geometry to go. And I'm hoping he picks up steam as he goes along and actually does get finished with calculus or pre-calculus or something like that. He's certainly capable of doing that, but he is going to have to kind of pick up a little bit as we go. And he does. He goes in fits and spurts where he'll work through part of a class really quickly, and then it'll take him a little longer with another bit. But anyway, so he's halfway through geometry. He is using Mr. D geometry. Mr. D is our favorite higher math teacher. And all of my kids have used Mr. D. So he's doing Mr. D geometry. He's doing the self-paced class, and he does it with a tutor. And so he'll pick up with the second semester of that. They finish the semester exam back at the end of May. And so he'll pick up later this month. We are starting school on August 20th, which is a Wednesday, one of my favorite hacks to start school on a Wednesday. And so he'll start with the math tutor that day. He does it with a math tutor, and they'll continue. And when they finish that, he'll move on to, as far as I know, unless the math tutor comes to me and says something differently, he'll move on to Mr. D Algebra 2. And so that'll be where he goes next. And he may speed through that a little faster. He may speed through the second part of geometry. We'll see where he is at the end of the year. We'll close the book and be done with it, unless he decides, hey, mom, I want to, I'm almost done with Algebra 2. I want to finish it by like the end of June or something. And he can do that too. So we've done that with kids before as well, where they were like almost done with something. They're like, I want to keep working until I'm finished. So that's what he's doing for math. Yeah, so that's first. Okay, second, let me talk about geography. And I'm going to talk about geography because I want to talk about it because his literature is tied up in geography. And I was talking to Thomas about doing geography, and he really wanted to do he didn't mind doing geography, but he wanted to do it a little bit differently. He didn't necessarily want to do cultural geography. He wanted to study things like making maps and physical geography and stuff like that. And I'm looking for the name of the book. Hold on. That I ended up getting. Okay, here we go. He wanted to really focus in on kind of the technology of geography and making maps and different things like that. And so I found this little book. I found it on Amazon. I ended up buying it on Teachers Pay Teachers, and it's called 25X Geography, and it's all about geography topics. And this is kind of going to be our spine. And so it really goes into GPS and GIS and the 5 themes of geography and physical geography and political geography and economic geography and those kinds of things, and not so much into all the cultures of the world, which is a lot of times what we think about when we think about doing geography in our homeschool. And he's really digging kind of, let me dig deep into the technology and stuff like that. So we're going to be using that as our spine. And then we're also going to be reading Maphead by Ken Jennings. Now, I have not pre-read this. I'm reading this with kind of a savvy, sarcastic 15-year-old. So like you would like, this is not a recommendation for you because I have not pre-read it. I have flipped through it. It looks pretty good. Are there some saucy bits? I have no idea. That's on you to decide. But I'm going to kind of pre-read as we go along. We'll probably read this one together just because I'm interested in it. So we'll probably do it in morning time because, like, I want to know what he has to say in here too. I watched Ken Jennings on Jeopardy back when he won the Jeopardy championship back in the 90s. So, like, I'm all about it. So I think it's going to be a fun read for the two of us together. So we're going to use this as a supplement to the geography text that I found. And then we are also going to be doing our literature through geography. But before we get to that, we are going to touch on countries and cultures. And so I got the travel book, which I'm not going to be able to make it focus because it's focusing on my face. But it is Lonely Planet, the travel book. And each spread in here is a different country. Sorry, it won't focus. Oh, there it goes. So that's a little bit better. And so we'll be doing different spreads in there. Probably I'll divide it up. I think there's 200 countries in here or something. And so we'll probably be doing about 3 a week where we'll sit down and we'll just kind of flip through and he'll look at it. We'll talk about it. I really don't have any intention at this point for him to do anything with that information other than him reading about the country, us finding it on the map. So the big box back there standing by the door is this huge world map, and I'm going to get us a bunch of little flags, not world flags, like little bookmark flags, and he's going to mark things on the map as we find them. I am going to ask him, I'm going to give him the choice. Do you want to memorize either the countries or the capitals or where countries are located? Do you want to do map work? And if that's something he says he wants to be able to do, that's a skill. Like he wants to be that familiar with maps so that he can like point out countries everywhere and know where they are or know the capitals or both, then I'll set up a system. We have a map work system that we use, but I'm really going to leave the choice up to him because he's old enough to decide, hey, I'm okay with just having a familiarity with where countries are because we've talked about them, we've found them on the map, things like that, or I really want to dig in and memorize this stuff. He's old enough to make that decision. I'm not going to make that decision for him. So he's at camp this week, and so I'll have to ask him next week when he comes back. He's in engineering camp. Then we're going to tie our literature to the geography work, and we're going to be reading books together in morning time because I like to read the books too. So that's what we're going to do. And these are my choices. These may not be choices that you would agree with. That's okay. You can totally pick something else for your homeschool. So we're going to do the Call of the Wild for North America. I think this is one that he'll really enjoy. I tried to go with more geography than history, but I also tried somewhat to hit literary quality. And I did better sometimes than I did other times. So I'll just say that. Next, for Europe, we're going to do Journey to the Center of the Earth. This is a Jules Verne book, and science fiction, which is a genre that I would like to read with him. And so we'll just see how this one goes. And then this one is, I won't say that I'm dubious about the literary quality, but it is a young adult book. It was hard to find books for South America, y'all, that would appeal to a 15-year-old boy. That's the other thing as well. So we're reading this City of the Beasts, and it's the protagonist is a teenager. It's set in the Amazon, and I'm not familiar with this author, but apparently she has written some things for adults that, from my understanding, like the literary quality was pretty good. So we're going to see how it goes. This book is for Africa. It's the Young Readers Edition, which I think is very important in this situation, of the Trevor Noah Born a Crime book. And this is going to be our memoir, nonfiction. We've got another nonfiction, but this one's a memoir. And so we're going to be reading this one. This one was recommended by the good folks at Guest Hollow. We've used their curriculum before in the past, not using it this year, just because of overwhelm, but using it this time, using this recommendation this time. So I go and check out their book list sometimes. They have great curriculum. If you don't want to make your own, okay, this whole video thing is making me kind of dizzy. And anyway, this one was highly recommended on their website, and I trust their book recommendations. So we're going to give this a look-see. Next is Peak, a novel, and this one is set in Asia, and it is about climbing Mount Everest, and is about a teen who is climbing Mount Everest. And then this one is in our middle school language arts curriculum, but it just looked like something he would enjoy so much. And so I went with this one at the recommendation of Meg Angelino, who wrote the Homeschool Better Together, the Geography Together program, and it's Race to the Bottom of the Earth. This is all about surviving Antarctica. I think that's one he's really going to enjoy. And then we have another young adult novel. I think it's The Day the Wars Began, from Australia. And I've heard that described as the Red Dawn of Australia. And I'm like, oh, he's totally going to dig that. So there's a balance. Some might say it's not balanced enough, but there's a balance between literary quality and enjoyable books for my particular 15-year-old boy. And that's kind of what we went with. So it's not all literary, but there are stories there. There are places for us to talk about plot and characterization and rising action and climax and falling action, and just to have all of those literary discussions that he could then apply to other books, but with stories that I felt would be very enjoyable for him, and just a variety of genres, which I really like. So that is geography/language arts. And then the other part of his English language arts is going to be the best grammar workbook ever. He has been asking me for a couple of years just for a really straightforward grammar and usage resource that will teach him what he's supposed to look for and then have him look for it. And this really, really does seem to fit the bill. And there's hundreds of little practice things in here. And I'm just going to have him do one a day. And if he doesn't get through it, he should get through it this year, because it looks like there's 96. So that should get him through here this year. But if for some reason he doesn't, we would just finish it up next year. But I don't think he's going to have a problem getting through the whole thing, actually. Yeah, there's 96 practice segments in here. So each one like talks to you about the thing and then gives you some practice with it. So we're going to be doing this year. I'm not going to be using a formal writing program with him during the first semester for sure, and possibly during the second semester. Instead, he will be doing some writing from his geography, and he will be doing some writing from his physical science using the writing revolution methods that we're now using with our Homeschool Better Together materials. And so since I'm elbow deep in writing revolution stuff for Homeschool Better Together, it's gotten pretty easy for me to um, come up with some writing prompts for him to use, or he can do narration. And so I can assign him some written narration to go along with his geography or his physical science. So now physical science. So once I got done with the geography, I really, really liked the look of the 25 time geography workbook. So I went ahead and got the 25 time physical science workbook as well. And once again, this is not enough to make its own course, but it can be the jumping off point or the spine, the basis for a course that you create. And so we're going to be using that to do physical science this year. And we chose to do physical science because, number one, we did biology last year. He is not wanting to dig deeper in biology or do a biology 2, but I didn't feel like he was mathematically in the right place to start chemistry. And so I wanted kind of another holding pattern year before we do chemistry in 11th grade and physics in the 12th grade. Most likely, I could always change my mind. And so we're going to do physical science this year and kind of introduce to some of those topics. So we're going to use the 25x physical science as our spine to get us started. And then I've been going through and setting up task cards for him, and adding 2 to 3 YouTube videos per topic. And then also we're going to be using junk drawer chemistry and junk drawer physics and some labs from Teachers Pay Teachers for our labs. And so his week is basically going to look like reading the chapter in 25x, doing the guided note taking that comes in there, watching the 2 videos, doing the discussion questions from 25x, and then doing some kind of lab. And where I could find a lab on Teachers Pay Teachers and it didn't break the bank, I've used one of their labs. I think I ended up buying like $40 worth of labs or something like that. So really not in, over my head with expense or anything. And then where I couldn't, I used the junk drawer chemistry and the junk drawer physics as a base to create my own labs with ChatGPT. And so I didn't want him to just watch something and it be a demonstration and there not actually be a lab element to it. And so I would take the demonstration that he was doing. I would say, oh, we're, doing the exploding baggies with adding baking soda to vinegar, and it's causing the bag to expand and then explode. And so ChatGPT would help me turn that into an experiment where he would do the experiment 3 or 4 times with varying amounts of baking soda. And then he would record how long it took, what the response, like, did some bags explode? Did some bags not explode? And then come up with follow-up questions and things like that, talking about the topic that we were covering to match it up with what he had read in 25x. So that's been way more planning than I typically do. I have planned out courses like this in the past. I don't always plan out courses like this. I love to find resources that are already done for me, but I was willing to do it this year because I think this is a science he can really kind of dig into. And we had a very horrible experience with biology last year. It was just not good. It was just not good. And I'm like, wait a second, we're going to make this experience so much better this year, even if I have to put in a little work up front to do it. So I pulled out my spreadsheet and I gathered all of my resources. I made my lesson plan list. And now I'm taking that lesson plan list and turning it into those teen task cards so he will be able to use them. And so now I've got to print all of my materials. But once I do that, and make myself a little master list of things we need for science experiments, but most of it's stuff we have around the house anyway. I've got to pick up like some litmus test strips and, for pH and things like that. But once I pick up a few more things, it's really going to be something, it's going to be open and go. And so that's why we do the work in the summer with put your homeschool year on autopilot, is so that the homeschooling can be open and go throughout the school year. Other than that, he does Civil Air Patrol and he stays pretty involved in that. He has to practice for his monthly PT test and stuff like that. So that covers, he goes to the gym with his dad a few times a week. That covers his PE credit. And then he probably needs an elective. And so we're going to have to talk about that when he gets back from camp. I'm thinking we're going to be using our Teens on Track photography as his elective for this year, because he does do public affairs at Civil Air Patrol and really enjoys that. Takes a lot of pictures anyway. And so we can dive deep into the lessons of Teens on Track photography to get him that photography credit. And that's probably going to be his elective credit for this year. Kids got to make a decision about foreign language. We need to talk about that. But that may be put off until his junior and senior year. So yeah, that is what we are doing with our school this year. If we do formal composition during the second semester, we will pick up with The Lively Art of Writing, which is a book that I go through with all of my high school seniors. I am considering, because the examples and everything in that book are so old, I'm considering making a teen task card version of that we would probably end up selling in the store, where we update a lot of the exercises to make them more modern for today's teens. So they're not talking about personality and cheerleading and drag racing and things like that, because the book is from like the early 60s and a lot of the examples are quite a bit out of date in that book. And so that may be something that I update. The other thing I want to do is be sure that he's a really great writer. He does have really, really good writing skills, but I don't want to push the book too early, because I do feel like there's such a value in this book. And so I don't want him to miss part of the value because it's too early for him to do it. So I want to make sure that he's mature enough to do it. This was a book that I did my senior year, and I've done it this senior year with my others. I did want to give us a little more time to go through it. So I think I'm going to start it junior year. I don't think I'm going to bring it down to sophomore year. I really don't think so. But you never know. He is a really good writer. So that is it. That is kind of where we are going. I would say I'm probably 70% prepared to start school. And like I said, we're starting August 20th. He's at camp this week. He's actually going on a trip with his dad next week. And then we need a couple days after they get back to just kind of take a deep breath and rest and relax. And then we'll start school on a Wednesday. So we only have 3 days before we get our first weekend. Not too tiring to do it that way. And so I'm about 70% done. And so I've got a lot of printing to do. I got a fresh new toner cartridge. I've got a few more books that I need to buy. I'm waiting for 1 or 2 more to get here. The science task cards are done. I've just got a few more YouTube videos I need to add on to the last few task cards. And then I've got to finish up the geography task cards. And so in our morning time this year, we will be watching Carl Azus, finding locations that he talks about on our big geography map, and then also doing some prayer and doing our geography and our literature reading together, just because I want to read the books too. So I don't know what I'm going to do when I don't have a kid to homeschool anymore. People may have to come over so that we can read together, and I'll have somebody to read with and somebody to talk about things with, because I'm desperately going to miss it in a few years. And actually it may happen even faster than that, because Thomas may dual enroll. None of my others dual enrolled, and he may actually dual enroll more than they did. So, which that would be a reason for me to push Lively Art of Writing down. If it really does look like he's going to do a lot of dual enrolling next year, we might bring Lively Art of Writing down and start it sooner. Because number one, I do think it would really prepare him for any kind of college English that he took, but also I don't want to miss the opportunity to do it with him because I think it's that important. Okay, that is all I have for today. You guys are so quiet. Would love to have you chat with me when you come in. But yeah, just great to be here. Be back next week, as far as I know. Can't think of any reason why I wouldn't be here on Monday. In a few weeks, I might miss, but for now, I'll be back next week. And yeah, let me know any questions that you have. Leave a comment and I'll try to answer them for you. Hope you have a great rest of your day.